Hello, my name is Haley Jackson, and today I'm going to be covering American English, more specifically the Northern dialect. Some key points and concepts that I'm going to be covering in this presentation are the location of this dialect and the varying accents within this region and their unique qualities. The north of the United States encompasses a great number of states from a larger area, but as you can see from the map I have included on this presentation, I have shaded in a smaller portion of states. I did this to show that in today's presentation we are only going to be discussing the New England area of the North. Now I know that I just said that the North encompassed a great number of states, but I only wanted to talk about the New England area because these states are undoubtedly a part of the North. Now, I say that I'm doing this because I know that who is or who isn't a part of the North is a highly debated topic because what I may think is the North, you may disagree with. However, the New England states are, like I said, undoubtedly a part of the North. So that's why I chose to only cover them today. The New England states include Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Now, these states have very diverse and intricate dialects because these were the first states to be colonized. Therefore, they've had the longest amount of time available to diversify and change. To put this into perspective of a modern day sort of view, you can think about maybe here in Murray, we don't have very many different accents available from our own town, but you could compare us to a larger city like New York, for example. There are more different groups of people in New York, so therefore the dialect there is a lot more diversified and individualized compared to here, at least. What exactly is an accent? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, an accent is a distinctive mode of pronunciation of language, especially one associated with a particular nation, locality, or social class. Again, to put this into kind of like a personal view, your accent would be how you or your friends or your family are speaking to one another in comparison to if another family or a friend or whatever we're speaking about were saying the exact same things as you all had done, but they would sound differently if they were from a different area. There are many different accents within the 6 states that make up the New England region, with some being more obvious than others. Common traits of the New England accents are the dropping of the R sound at the very end or within a word and a nasal A sound. For example, instead of saying, and excuse my bad accent, I'm not very good at accents, but instead of smart, it would be smat. However, I say that this is a rule, but like with any rule, not everyone follows it. And I'm going to get into that sort of on a deeper level here in a second. The New England states are generally split between eastern and western New England. The most defining trait of eastern New England is the fact that they drop their R's most of the time, while western New England residents usually don't. Again, like I said before, not everyone follows the rule to a T, but this is kind of the general consensus of who does what and who doesn't. The New England states, or the eastern New England states, apologies, include Rhode Island, eastern Massachusetts, Maine, and New Hampshire. The western New England states include Vermont, western Massachusetts, and Connecticut. Here on this slide you can see that I have included all of the state flags for the eastern New England area. And we are now going to get into more of like an in-depth look into each of these states within the eastern and western areas and their unique kind of qualities that make them stand out, or any sort of fun little facts that I've found while researching this topic. So we're gonna start off in Maine. In Maine, the R's are often dropped, as well as the G in many ing endings. And as with any dialect, Maine residents have adopted a few unique ways of saying specific phrases. A few of these are, and again, pardon my bad accents, but it would be yeah, and that's a way of saying yes. Culch could mean rubbish or trash, and chowderhead means idiot or moron. Except I found this kind of interesting as well. They say chowderhead, but the use of chowder has no real relation to the food chowder. Eastern Massachusetts is where the famously known Bostonian accent is from. Everyone knows that accent. It's very famous. They're sort of aggressive sounding. There are very few people who live in this area that don't drop their R's. Moving on, Rhode Island. Rhode Island accents have been known to sound slightly Italian, mostly due to its very high Italian population. It is said that the Rhode Island accent sounds like a mix between a Jersey Shore accent and a Boston accent. This mix is most likely due to the fact that both Jersey and Boston are so close to Rhode Island, and that Rhode Island is so small, it is so very easily influenced by outside factors. For New Hampshire, in the past, those with New Hampshire accents were known to drop the R's in their words, but now they're also known to add R's onto words where they don't necessarily belong. For example, the word idea would become idear. Another unique aspect, apologies, of the New Hampshire dialect is that in certain areas there is a French influence on the speech patterns due to their close proximity to the Canadian border. Words like think, or maybe pronounced like tink, or hallway like alway. Moving on, we are now going to be talking about the Western New England area. And once again, I included all the state flags for the states that are included in this area. Western New England isn't as complex. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it now. It's not as complex as Eastern New England. There's not, the Boston accent. There's not anything that really stands out as much as it does in the Eastern area. But this is not to say that there aren't accents. They're just a lot more subtle. There isn't much that distinguishes the Western New England area's accents from one another. Differences are very small, and therefore are often lost as time passes. As more time passes, there are less of the older generations that have held on to those dialectal differences. The more and more that this area's accents begin sounding like a generic American accent. And basically what that means is, due to the aging out of the generations, the newer generations aren't picking up that accent that the older generations have. So they're growing up not having any accent. So it's kind of making a baseline, and it doesn't sound like one thing or another. It's just sort of there. But yeah, and that is it. Here is a website that I use, and this website's actually pretty interesting to read through. I do recommend it if you're interested. It kind of goes into a lot of deeper detail, like on a personal level, to each of these accents, but it also includes like the historical factors of it as well. And it's actually made by a company that sort of works like how Duolingo works. It's called Babbel. I'm sure some of you have heard the commercials for it, but I think it's very interesting, and I really liked being able to research this area for this project. All right, thanks.